Hey everyone, welcome to episode 2 of Project Truthbook. Today we're talking about Trump prophecies and other predictions. Our hope is that this episode will help you in your discernment regarding prophets and their prophecies. Hey John.
Yeah.
How's your week?
Pretty good, man. Just like everyone else, I was shocked to hear about what happened to God Emperor Trump on Saturday.
Aside from that, I heard you screwed up your back.
Oh, yeah, my back's been bothering me for like a week and a half. I don't know what I did to it. I was vacuuming my car one day. It was kind of bothering me, and then now it's like settled into my like waistline, my back, and it just every time I sit and get up, I'm like,
wow, you're
making
really
Joe
old.
Biden noises, you
know. You're really old, dude.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah, well, my week was okay. We went to see the train, the big boy train. It was in town, and that was really awesome. They did the horn, or the horn, and Daniel started crying.
Oh, God.
So that was kind of like, but it was like loud. It was like rattling my ear in a way. I've never had my ear rattled that way, so that was interesting. But it was cool. Happy got to see that. It's definitely a cool piece of history for sure. So today I think we're going to be chatting about, obviously we have to talk about Trump and...
Of course, like everybody else on YouTube.
Yeah, well, it's just one of those things. It's like, where were you when XYZ happened, right? I do think this is one of those moments, and this is obviously not a political podcast, but the Christian spheres of influence, I guess you could say, are rather the whole prophecy stuff is really kicking up, and I'm hoping we can bring some clarity.
Well, we were going to talk about that viral video that supposedly prophesied Trump's assassination from like 4 months ago.
Correct.
Yeah.
But there was another thing, and I don't remember what it was. Do you remember what it was?
Oh, I think this will fill up probably 45 minutes pretty quickly.
We can divert, and let's just do that. So, can you remind me on his name? Because honestly, I looked at those videos. I looked at who did the color grading on it, and I immediately knew it is some wacko. And I don't know why, but they all look like that. It's always a really janky shot video. The color grading on all of those videos are always so weird. Why?
So
who did that video and thought that looked good? I don't know, but they always look like that. I don't get it.
I don't want to denigrate too much, but so the guy who it's from, a guy named Steve Cioccolani is the guy who runs the channel.
The Asian guy.
Yeah.
Okay.
And he's the pastor of a church in Australia called Discover Church. Sorry.
Okay.
And he's written some books on prophecy. I mean, it seems like their sole source of information is on prophecy. Like they focus a lot on predictions, prophecy. That's seems to be what their books are about, what their channel's about. I was kind of looking into them today when I had some time.
Okay.
The guy who made the prediction about, the prophecy, air quotes, about Trump's assassination is a guy named Brandon Biggs. Biggs. Man, I'm going to just butcher everyone's names.
Yeah, don't.
Forever. Every single podcast, I'm going to just ruin people's names.
You're 0 for 2.
Yeah.
Keep going.
So, Brandon Biggs, he was a former janitor for Kenneth Copeland. And he felt God call him to be a pastor, and he set up basically his social media presence started up like a year ago, and he's very much prophecy oriented. He feels that God's always showing him different prophecies, and we'll talk about that. But let me just say too that we are definitely praying for Trump and the victims of what happened.
100%.
Obviously, it was horrible for everyone involved and traumatic, and pray for the family of the person who was killed, of course.
I am told that the man who passed away was a devout Christian.
Yeah, he was a firefighter.
Served his church. That's according to the statement by his daughter, one of his daughters, which I'll just take that at face value. And
I mean, obviously he's a good person. I mean, he shielded his family, and that's what...
A freaking true man.
Yeah.
A freaking hero. Just a real man, which is really refreshing to see, because most men are not real nowadays.
Unlike the perpetrator.
We got to talk about that too.
Yeah.
I don't know why they all look like like you were saying, it always
my
looks like
gosh.
some loser freak in their parents' basement.
Yeah.
And I don't get, why is it always like that?
Dude,
It's like, dude, get a haircut.
they all look the same too.
Dude, get a
I
haircut.
don't understand it. They got this like they've been fed soy milk their whole lives as their sole source of sustenance.
Maybe they're vegans.
I mean, and I was hearing from interviews with fellow classmates and people who knew him that he was always quiet. He was kind of the smart kid, but people picked on him,
Yeah.
just, I don't know. I mean, obviously he's probably had some bad stuff going on in his life too, make him.
And obviously there was that other person who was a shot in the arm, I think.
Yeah, there are 2 other people in critical condition but stable condition.
Oh,
one
okay.
person,
Shoot, worse than I thought.
Yeah, one person's in a medically induced coma.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
It's not looking great. But
So I think, I'm just gonna go there. I don't understand how this happened. Like, I'm not.
yeah,
We're
you and
not a
like
conspiracy
everybody
theory.
else in America right
We're not
now.
a conspiracy theory podcast, but we've definitely had our conversations of like, this seems weird.
I mean, it gets weirder too. So just like the rest
don't
of America,
It makes
there's
no
a
sense.
just as time goes on. Like I just saw another tweet now, and it was like, what? It's like more stuff that just does not add up.
Yeah.
Confusing. I mean, this is obviously just a huge screw up.
Blunder.
Either a comedy of errors, just a series of screw ups, the perfect storm of screw ups.
So
Who knows, man?
So
God knows.
Yeah, God, exactly. So yeah, play the clip and then we'll chat more about, I guess, bring clarity to the things that are being said and bring some level-headedness to it.
What the Lord has showed me about this eclipse is that he said, basically when I was praying a couple weeks ago, he said to me, he said, Brandon, I want you to watch Passover. For when Passover comes, there's going to be an acceleration of things, even more so from what it was from Rosh Hashanah to Rosh Hashanah. He said, but this will be a time of great acceleration. And he said, you'll see acceleration in the financial realm. And he said, you're going to see acceleration in the politics, and you're going to see acceleration in war. And he told me, he said, these things are going to, he said, for my son's return is imminent. And he told me this. He said, when this happened, when Passover, this time of Passover happened, there would be such a great, is almost, and he told me about weather. And he told me, he said, there'll be great temperature rising in Chicago through New York and some of the other areas up east. And he said, there'll be record-breaking temperatures during this time frame. And he warned me about storms, long-track tornadoes, and for the body of Christ to take their authority over these storms, because there would be these tornadoes. There'll be the largest tornadoes we've ever seen in history, potentially being long-track tornadoes. And then he said microburst. He was talking about 150 mile per hour winds would come out of these microbursts. And he was talking about taking authority over that and praying over that. But I just saw a great acceleration of things even from Passover to Rosh Hashanah going into the fall. And that there would be through the United States. And then I saw you, Pastor Steve. The Lord said he was opening up major doors for you, more than what you realize, and that you are called more into the political arena than whatever you expected. That this would be a season of great promotion with open doors. And that you would go and you would start speaking at churches, and you would have an anointing on you like the old patriots.
You said you saw me as an old guy.
Yeah, but it was not necessarily an old guy. It was like a mantle of telling people in these old churches, like trying to reform America again, bringing back America. Because the Lord told me, he said, I am not done with America. Amen. He said there's going to be a new wave of patriotism coming out, and that's whenever I saw Trump, and I saw a red wave coming out of Michigan, and then I saw Oklahoma, and there was embers of people, and they were all on they had torches all throughout Oklahoma, and they were raising up these torches that looked like fire, and they were bringing forth a new patriotism upon the nation. And it was being birthed, and it just kept spreading like fire all throughout America, all throughout. And I saw Trump rising up. And then I saw an attempt on his life. This bullet flew by his ear, and it came so close to his head that it busted his eardrum. And I saw he fell to his knees during this time frame, and he started worshiping the Lord. He got radically born again during this time frame. I'm talking, people say he's saved now, but he becomes really on fire for Jesus, for what I saw coming. And then I saw people interceding when I saw him winning the presidency through great. The Lord showed me it would go clear into the summer. Great persecution would come on him through the judges and through the law and all these people trying to sue him and all this stuff. But there would be a stop to it, and there things would start to break free come toward the fall. And then I saw him winning the election through the Patriots coming out and voting, and then there will be a great economy crash. Yeah. I saw they had a great economy plan, a crash, worse than the Great Depression. And the Lord warned me about this. It would be a great dark time. But I saw paddles coming upon America's soil like a shocking of the soil. And I saw Donald Trump praying in the office of the Oval Office, and he was weeping before the Lord with his hands on his head like this, but he was weeping. And there was ministers and people. I don't know if they were senators or Congress people or whatever. I just saw them pacing and back and forth inside of the White House. What is the White House? But it's the Oval Office. Yeah. And they were interceding all inside there, and I could feel the presence of the Lord so strong on this. And then I could see that darkness that was the heaviness upon America with the financial crisis of what I saw coming. It started to lift above the trees, and I saw the blue and the things coming back out, and the green times and the good times coming back again. But the Lord said it would be forth a time of a season of a shaking, and it would be a shaking to awaken. And in this, this would basically that He was not done with America. There would be a great revival come, and it's not all doom and gloom. That's what He said. The sky's not falling. There's a time of, it's like people would say, this is judgment. And the Lord said, do not call this judgment. It's not my judgment. It's a correction. There's correction coming.
So, for 1 Thessalonians 5:19 through 22 says, do not quench the spirit. Do not utterly reject prophecies, but examine everything. Hold firmly to that which is good. Abstain from every form of evil. I want to give Brandon Biggs benefit of the doubt. I don't know him personally.
It's so funny because we were talking about the gifts last time.
Right.
And okay, so it is very possible, as Paul said, he desires we have the gift of prophecy. However, let's define that real quick before we go on. Is this to profess the word of Christ, or are we talking knowing future events type prophecy?
That's a good question. So Wayne Grudem defines prophecy as telling something that God has spontaneously brought to mind.
Okay. So that's the definition we'll be going on with then.
Yeah, and I there's a case to be made for telling forth the word of God with power and authority. There are some who believe that's what prophecy is today. There are others who believe it's predicting the future only. Okay. Like in the Old Testament.
Okay.
I tend to side with what Wayne Grudem has to say on this.
Yeah, I think that's I agree myself, and if we're wrong, so be it.
Yeah. So obviously, I'm not sold on any particular view. I'm just thinking that's probably because I'm continuationist. I believe the gifts are still around. I've experienced things that I can't really deny. So, we talked about our own experiences with maybe God giving us an impression about something or something that was going to happen, So I don't despise prophecies, but we need to test them,
Right. So the testing, we're very, it makes sense that there's clear guidance on, okay, how do we test it? So.
Yes. So I just wanted to back up. Brandon Biggs is the one who uttered that prophecy 4 months ago. And prophecy, prediction, whatever, let's just say prediction. Okay. He's a former janitor for Kenneth Copeland, who's
a noble profession.
Word of faith, prosperity gospel kind of guy. He's a little out there, a lot out there.
Kenneth Copeland, is that the creepy looking dude with the jet?
Yeah.
Yeah, he's just a heretic. That's fine.
I would not be opposed to saying that.
I'm pretty confident that he
yeah,
is. I've seen him in interviews. And I'm like, bro.
You just Google anything about Kenneth Copeland.
Yeah.
There's a lot of information about him out there. He started up his social media presence about a year ago that I could tell in my
Not
research.
Kenneth Copeland, the guy that.
Brandon Biggs. A lot of his YouTube channels just things that he believes God showed him and stuff.
Okay.
He makes other predictions. In addition to Trump being president again, Trump surviving an assassination attempt, he also predicts that as you heard, there would be an economic collapse. There'll be a massive earthquake at some point. There's a plague that's coming that will kill 350 million people. And he said he believes all these are happening in 2025. So I guess we'll see.
So let's go step by step here. So we've only got a year to go back on, and obviously we have not had time to listen through literally every single one of his videos. We do have like jobs.
Yeah. Right.
Coming out of Kenneth Copeland is already a huge red flag. The manner of profession, if he's a janitor, great. There's nothing wrong with being a janitor. Did we find out if he has schooling? Like what qualified him? Because you said he started his own church, or he just started his own channel?
I do not know.
Okay.
He said that he was praying about becoming a pastor.
Okay.
In one of his videos, and he was a janitor for a while, and he didn't want to be a janitor, but he felt like God was keeping him there to humble him, and
okay,
which is cool. The host of the show, Steve Cioccolanti, he's been a pastor for a long time, and there's a long track record. I went on his Facebook page.
Yeah, you were sending me pictures.
I was searching things back to basically all the charismatic people in 2020 predicted Trump would win,
and he didn't.
And Steve Cioccolanti is one of those people who made that prediction, and it didn't happen. He also predicted that there'd be this massive Jewish revival in 2018. Didn't happen. There's a mega quake that will probably happen in 2013 to 2014, followed by a global financial collapse in 2015. That didn't happen.
There was a quake though that. Was it India, Indonesia?
There were some large... I even looked it up. There were some large earthquakes that happened in 2013, 2014. They weren't 8 magnitude and above.
Right.
A mega quake is 8 magnitude and above.
Got it. Okay.
So none of that happened. And to be fair, whenever he would make these predictions, he's like, I don't know for sure, but I think if my timeline's correct, blah, blah, blah. He'd always qualify.
General vagueness.
Yeah, he would always qualify. He was specific enough to say that if it comes true, hey, I'm onto something. But he would always kind of say, he'd always have this caveat, I'm not going to be dogmatic about this. I'm not going to, but I think the Lord's telling me, And so I guess my thing is if I wanted to start again, not despising prophecies because I believe they're real and they're still here today. Mm-hmm. Okay. And that's just God giving you impressions about things, maybe about the future, maybe about something you're doing right now, maybe about some circumstance, whatever. I just think that if I was starting a prophecy ministry, that one of the things I would do, or several things I would do, is I'd be purposefully vague. Okay? I would say things like...
Let me clarify what you just said by if I was starting it. If you were starting a prophecy...
Like a YouTube channel...
With the goal of making money? Or with the goal of
being all about
let's
supposed prophecies.
So you're saying if you genuinely believe that you have the gift of prophecy, and truly believe, and you were,
I'm assuming these people have motives, pure motives. I'm just
pure.
For
That's what I'm trying to say.
I don't think these people are trying to get rich.
Yeah.
Off
So
of this.
you are assuming pure motives, and
Sure.
that's fine. We'll give them benefit of doubt because in the end they still believe in Jesus.
Yeah, I think so. I don't know their heart, but I'm just saying if I,
in theory,
really bought into Kenneth Copeland's theology and stuff like that, and I wanted to do my own channel, and I'd want to make prophecies, I would be vague to a degree, not get too specific.
Just in case.
Just in case, so I don't completely get discredited like the guy in 2011 who predicted the rapture would happen.
What was that guy's name? He was a Catholic guy, right?
No, he wasn't Catholic. He did family radio.
Yeah. I thought he's a Catholic guy.
He's not Catholic.
Maybe
he's
sorry.
some Protestant guy. He had
Okay,
family
my bad.
radio, 2011.
I think it's family radio.
May of
like,
2011, he predicted the rapture would happen, and
laying down in his bed waiting for it to happen or something like that, and then it didn't happen.
And it didn't happen. He had a stroke afterward, and he died shortly.
Ooh,
after
awkward.
That. Yeah, he couldn't talk after that. It was weird, man.
That's ooh.
It was bad.
Maybe we talk about that sometime because that's like weirdly coincidental. You know what I mean? Like,
and there was a lot of stress. He got a lot of like outcry over it because
people sold their possessions.
People sold their houses and stuff. It was ridiculous.
they actually thought the world was about to. Okay, well, get rid of everything.
Yeah. So nobody wants to end up like that guy, right?
And
man, I know his name. It's gonna bother me. But anyway, I just forget everyone's names when I'm on live on podcasting.
Yeah, you're Biden.
So
okay, Biden.
It's already setting in. I would also make general predictions, like talk about the weather, I mean,
yeah.
Again, he's like saying that, there's going to be this acceleration. Well, what the heck does that mean?
Yeah, and
acceleration of war,
let's go down the list.
That could mean anything. You can make anything in retrospect, right?
Let's go down the list of what he said.
Okay.
So
he talks about the weather. He talks about there's going to be record heat.
Okay.
About every single year,
Yep.
There's going to be record heat
Always.
because that day, since the time that they've been taking measurements, going back to the 1800s,
yeah,
it has not always been 120 degrees on that day.
On the 13th of this month.
Yeah.
And it's just kind of like, cool. It was probably a difference of a degree, but we can put it in the news and say it's record breaking.
It's record-breaking.
And then it's widely known as record breaking heat.
Right.
Or they'll say 3 days in a row of over a certain amount or whatever it is.
Yeah, and he also said there's going to be the largest tornadoes. Yes, I mean, tornadoes do happen in the summertime, right?
Yes.
But he also threw out potentially,
Yeah. So we have the general vagueness.
The qualifying terms to kind of give you an out if something doesn't quite happen.
That's a very what's the word, like when you go to a psychic thing,
Yeah.
I feel someone starts with like a J, and it's like obviously somebody
close
someone.
to you has died.
Who
so
doesn't
has
have
every person on the face of the earth.
Right. What else was it that he said?
Yeah, and I mean, obviously he talked about the thing on Trump, but even with that, he was saying that his eardrum burst. There's no evidence that happened.
So here's what I'll say with that. So let's just for fun, giving him the benefit of the doubt, just for fun, cut out all the other stuff he said. That's basically like general knowledge.
Mm-hmm.
Tornadoes happen. It gets hot in the summer. We know that the economy will be crashing soon.
I mean, that's what a lot of people are forecasting.
Yeah,
so
that's in the forecast already.
That's probably something.
And what was the other thing? Acceleration of war. Yeah, Russia and Israel are still shooting and being shot at. We know that. So those are generalities. Let's pretend none of that other content or none of those other things were said. And
you want to just focus on the Trump thing?
Yeah.
Okay.
Because that's what that's the only clip people are going to see.
But see, that's my next point. If I was starting a thing, I would throw out as many predictions out there as possible and hoping one of them sticks. Because
Correct.
if one of them sticks, that goes viral, apparently.
Right. But that's a weird. So here's, in his defense, that's weirdly specific.
Yeah.
A bullet goes so close to him that it bursts his eardrum. Now, how would someone interpret bursting of the eardrum? If I'm not a doctor, I don't actually know what it looks like when someone bursts an eardrum. If I saw somebody's ear bleeding, I might say, "Oh wow, his eardrum burst because he's bleeding." Why else would he be bleeding?
And to his credit, and to your point exactly, because we just defined that it's in prophecy is you speaking what God has shown you, which may not always be, your interpretation of that may not always be 100% accurate, according to Wayne Grudem's interpretation. Then yeah, he probably had an image maybe of Trump bleeding from his ear. He got shot, and he thought, oh, he must have burst his eardrum, and interpreted that way.
Yeah.
To his, to the benefit of the doubt, yeah.
Right.
I mean, I can see that happening. I can believe that, of course.
Yeah.
It's just, what I'm trying to do here is use this as a example of how we can look at prophecy or predictions that people make in your life or on YouTube or whatever, and how can we be good discerners of what is true and what is not.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm not condemning anything. I mean, it might be that everything he says comes to pass. I don't think it will, but let's say he's right. Okay. I'm just saying that a lot of times, and I saw this a lot during the Obama years. I mean, they were talking about the 4 horsemen of the apocalypse. They were talking about the blood. I mean, the blood moons happened in 2014, 2013. You know,
that's just a regular occurrence that just happens because
and they
have
coincided
astronomy.
They coincided with certain feast days, you know, of the Jewish calendar, and they made a big deal about that. That was such a big thing. John Hagee and a bunch of other pastors and stuff like that, you know. But there was so much of that level of predictions.
Yeah.
Oh, there was going to be an earthquake and a stock market crash, and something's going to happen to Israel. I read this book on the blood moons in 2014. And I read through the whole thing, and the guy said, I'm not going to make a prediction, but I think in 2014, something major is going to happen to Israel. See, you see the vagueness?
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
I'm not making a prediction, but I'm going to make a prediction. And I leave it just vague enough that I could basically look back in retrospect and say, oh, look, that thing that happened in the news, because there's something always happens everywhere at any time, right? That was the thing that was
there's always
predicted.
something happening, yeah.
You know, like...
Yeah, no, I know what you mean. So
just watch out for that. That's what I'm just trying to say. Watch out for this.
Be very cautious.
Yeah, because he's also making some pretty specific, economic collapse.
Mm-hmm.
He talked about this plague that was so bad, it was going to be worse than COVID. 350 million people will die. He said he thinks, that qualifier... thinks it's going to be in 2025.
Yeah, I really doubt that's going to happen. But here's the thing. So he's made future claims or claims of, he's made prophecies of things that will happen in the near future. Now we just wait, right? So one of the things he was talking about was the earthquake. I think a big quake, Mississippi, something like
half the United
right?
States is going to split in half from
Yeah,
that.
I don't okay. If that happens, then maybe my ears I'm going to be a little more perked up and go, oh, there's a good chance it won't. So context, I know someone who's just always into this. Always like, hey, Alex, this thing's going to happen. And I go, okay. And then I wait and nothing happens. And I go, hey, nothing happened. Oh yeah, no, I had the numbers were wrong. It's probably going to be this. And it's just, the can is constantly kicked down the road. And you just go, yeah, I don't think you have the wisdom you thought you had. This particular person believed he had, I shouldn't laugh, it's kind of sad, that God had given him a special wisdom or
I know what
a special discernment or whatever you want to call it.
Discernment, that's the word.
Yeah. He's like, you need, I have unique discernment or spiritual discernment or something like that. I'm like, okay, well, nothing you've told me is correct. So no, you don't. So now we just wait and see if that's what happens. So I guess.
And the people, see, the thing is though, the people around him who do have a track record, specifically the Steve guy, he's been wrong repeatedly.
Yeah, the
over and over and over, making very similar predictions 10 years ago or 5 years ago or whatever it was.
Right.
You know, and it's just the same kind of stuff that I hear over and over and over from other charismatic kind of word of faithy prosperity gospel. These kind of predictions, they tie it into politics with Obama. I remember
always tied
it's like
to
Obama
politics.
was the Antichrist. I mean, it's just a whole bunch of goofy stuff.
Couple points. It is goofy. There's going to be a lot of misinformation because people never know the name of people. They just say, oh, yeah, I saw it in this video. And it's like, okay, the Asian dude, been wrong a bunch of times. Yeah. So we are confident that he does not have the gift of prophecy. And the things that he's saying you can disregard. But because this other guy is associated with him, now there will be confusion among the two of them. And one will get credit where the credit's not due and vice versa.
Right.
So to people out there, take 2 minutes, 5 minutes, and just read up on who is who, their history, and you will see I keep calling him the Asian guy. What's his name?
His name is Steve Cioccolanti.
Okay, Steve Cioccolanti has multiple incorrect prophecies, which tells me
predictions. He wouldn't say thus saith the Lord a lot to his credit, but he made a lot of predictions. I watched several of his videos going back 10 years, and
they're all wrong.
A lot of them were wrong. Yeah.
Okay.
There's some stuff, but see, here's the thing. There's a few things that would stick.
Well, yeah, but
he predicted.
If you throw enough
he
darts
predicted
at the
Trump
wall,
would win 2016 when everyone else thought he wouldn't win. So that that's up.
Yeah,
in
but
his
he was
top
not the only
5
one
of predictions out of the 1,000 predictions he made. That
yeah.
actually stuck,
All that to say, disregard that guy. And let me give context. What I mean by that, I don't mean go and hate the guy. Do I believe these people are saved? There's a good chance they are.
Yeah,
I'm gonna say good chance. I think they believe Christ is the Messiah, and I think they believe that he is the way to salvation, like the basic gospel. And they just have all these other things just way, way wrong. But the basic gospel, they've got. Now, it is also possible that I'm wrong and they are wolves in sheep's clothing, but I haven't seen anything.
Yeah, I wouldn't go that far.
Yeah, I wouldn't go that far.
It seems like they definitely want to seek souls into the kingdom based on the limited viewing I had today of their
they're not spewing
content.
hate. They're not preaching anything particularly anti-Christian.
No.
So I do at least feel kind of, what's the word? Like, I'm happy that that is at least the case. So that's why I say we're not calling for people to go and like hate these guys, tear them down or anything like that. I would not even go as far as saying don't even go like, not publicly shame, but, you don't got to go on their channel and be like, everything you say, like none of that. Just pray for them as you would anyone else, and just leave it at that. When I see something on YouTube, knowing that the model that YouTube is, and looking at some of the thumbnails that you've sent me, the first thing I think of is this guy's trying to make money. But that's just because I know the YouTube game.
Right.
Not everybody knows the YouTube game.
Yeah.
So in the beginning of that video, he talks about us helping with spreading the word, but I cannot remember if he asks like for financial help. I don't think he does. Do you remember?
He talks about his sponsor, who's MyPillow.
MyPillow, that's right, the MyPillow sponsor.
Yeah.
I thought that was hilarious. That is so random. So you know what? Kudos to him. But that's what I'm saying is, okay, at what point do you say, hey, I'm doing this ministry?
Yeah. That's why I watched the whole video. I want context because
I
see
was
that
a long video. I did not watch it all.
It's a 3-minute clip. And you're like, oh, that sounds pretty interesting. You know, the thing. But I was like, there's a reason why it's only 3 minutes. And I listened to the full thing and I'm like, okay, it's a little out there, you know, like these predictions. Hey, you know, it could happen, but that's why I keep saying it's like the reason I'm dubious on this is because all the things I said, if I were going to start a channel and I was full of the word of faith theology, prosperity gospel theology, here are the purposeful things I would do to always have an out in case things don't manifest.
Right.
You know, and then if they don't manifest and I get called out on it, the next thing I do is I go back and I say, oh, well, so God appeared to me in a dream.
Yeah.
And it was because of all the financial, I'm not saying these people do this. I'm saying like some word of faith prosperity people who've been called out on their false predictions. They'll say, well, God appeared to me and he told me because all of my followers were so faithful and were praying so diligently, God decided to move the time forward when that judgment will happen or whatever.
Wow, that is...
And I know. And the other one is you would point to something similar, like maybe he predicts an earthquake, and maybe an earthquake does happen next year, and it's in sort of close to the area that happens. Like, okay, yeah, but the earthquake did happen. I just had my details a little off, you know. I didn't say dogmatically this. I was saying I think it was this, you know. Because that's why you use that language. Yeah. I think, you know, so you can always kind of have an out. We talked about our own personal experiences with things happening to us where we felt like God spoke to us.
Yep.
And I'll give my example. This is the one I always point to because it's like so clear. Picked up my friends, going to go to the movies. Pull up to the stoplight out of my friend's neighborhood, and I had this, I was sitting in the left-hand lane, light was red, and I just had this impression immediately saying, there's a guy who's going to run the red light on the other side, going across. And I'm like, okay. Like, I'm just like, that's going to happen. So light turns green. I sat there for a few seconds. Sure enough, somebody came flying through the intersection. Ran through the red light.
Yeah, that's crazy.
And all of us went, whoa, you know. And even my friend kind of looked over at me like, the light's green, why aren't you going, you know? And I told him, I was like, I felt like God just told me that somebody was going to run the red light.
Yep.
And I can count maybe 3 or 4 times something like that's happened in my entire life.
Right.
You know?
In other words, it's rare.
Yeah. It is rare. I think it is rare. It's not.
You don't have.
You don't have to concoct something every week for your YouTube channel.
Right. Exactly. You don't have something every week that you feel you need to share with the world.
Right. And so that happened, and it was clear. And I think it was a prophecy.
Okay, so you think that can fall underneath the definition of prophecy?
I think so. Yeah.
Okay.
I think that's what God gave me this impression.
Yeah.
And my interpretation of that was like, I think someone's going to run the red light.
Yeah.
So I sat there for a few seconds. It happened. So
Yeah.
clearly it was the Spirit speaking to me, whether it's a prophecy or word of knowledge or whatever
Yeah,
and I think
had
that
similar situation.
Yeah, go ahead.
So I had a similar situation. We didn't go to evening service, and I kind of felt like that was the part I didn't tell you on the phone. I was kind of thinking like I need to go to evening service.
Mm-hmm.
There was no reason not to. Basically,
Mm-hmm.
we normally don't go because it's far away. Right.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not about like the logistics of having a 1.5-year-old and like, okay, you got to like get up, go to church, and then you have like a 4-hour gap. What do you do in 4 hours? Do you come back home? Okay. 30 minutes to drive there and back, blah, blah, blah. I'm not going back for evening service. I'm sorry. I'm just not. It's just no. Oh, you could stay somewhere. No, because he has to take a nap in the afternoon. It's just no. But for whatever reason, this time around, I felt the cards had landed such that there was no reason not to. Pretty convenient. We were even coming from that part of town. And I kind of ignored it. I'm like, I believe I was being disobedient by not going. That's how strong of a, like, I really should have gone to evening service. Mm-hmm. And for clarity, I don't get that feeling like other Sundays. I am at peace with not going in the evening.
Sure.
And we were on our way home. And that feeling I should have gone to evenings. Like I should not. Okay. Basically I had the feeling of I am on a different road right now because I did not go to evening service. This is not the road I want to be on. And as I was driving home on a 2-lane road, there was a car coming the other way in his lane. But what I could not see is that there was a homeless person pushing their stupid cart down the road in the street. And that car had to come into my lane to go around the homeless person. I had to slam on my brakes so that I don't die in a terrible car accident. And then I had some very unchristian things to say to that lady because I had my kid in the car.
Yeah.
And let me tell you.
Yeah.
That's a whole different ballgame. Never underestimate the anger of a patient man. Is how I will word that. Or no, never underestimate the anger of a kind man. Mm-hmm. I was PO'd. Just genuinely angry. So yelled at the lady. Probably shouldn't have, but you know what? I don't care. For anyone who thinks, oh, but they're homeless. No. These homeless people do not want help. I'm just going to say it. They don't want help. It is documented that they refuse. And this is not, I guess you cannot say this is everybody, but
no.
Why are you pushing a cart down a country road? Why are you not at the shelter if you want? Go to a shelter where there is availability and go there, not in the middle of a country road. So no, you don't want help. You want to be homeless and you don't want to get your life together. I have no sympathy.
By the way, speaking of people who may be hard up on cash, Brandon Biggs predicts that Ripple will go from where it is now.
What's Ripple? Is that a crypto?
It's a crypto.
Is it his crypto?
It wouldn't surprise me.
Is it a crypto that's part of the streaming platform he's on? Maybe
I don't know.
I'm gonna look it up.
Ripple will go from where it is now, which is like 54 cents or something
stupid like that. Yeah.
Ripple is currently at 54 cents.
This is not financial advice.
To $10,000 in one day.
Well, I'm gonna just buy like
I want you to
20
show
Ripple.
Show how much you have faith in God. No. And
this is not financial advice.
Hey, if that happens, dude,
maybe I'll buy some just to say, you know what, just in case.
He was right about some things so far.
Yeah. So all that to say, so yeah, I almost that happened, and I do think that happened, and I went, oh, that's what that feeling was. That was this is why you died. Just basically how I interpreted it was God saying, this is why I told you to go to evening service. It may not even be for like, you need to be in church.
Yeah.
Because you need to be a good Christian. It may just be a logistical, like, this will happen if you're not in this particular place at that time. And some people might think stuff like that sounds silly and childish, but I think God is very practical.
Mm-hmm.
It's a very practical application. As John ruins the audio with his boomer papers that he printed out. But yeah, I think God can do that. And so going along with the example you just gave of, so God is speaking to his people.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, look at man, we need to talk about the Muslims who are seeing visions of Jesus.
Seeing visions of Jesus.
I think it's so awesome.
Yeah, that's been going on for a while now.
And I'm a little skeptical of that at first, but like...
It's kind of hard to deny.
Yeah, it's so hard to deny because the penalty for leaving Islam... Like, you better be sure that you saw Jesus. You know what I mean? Like, you don't just be like, oh, yeah, I had a dream, and the dream was Jesus, right? That doesn't...
So many Muslims independently in different countries having, like, the same dream.
Yes.
I mean, it's hard to deny that evidence.
Yeah, so let's maybe talk about that next week because I think it's great. So, moving on,
I wanted to point out, too, that 1 Corinthians 14:3 talks about that prophecy, the one who prophesies, speaks to people for edification, exhortation, and consolation.
So basically the building up of the church.
Yeah, so that tells me that I don't think a lot of prophecy is going to be like earthquakes and plagues and, I mean, I guess not everything's sunshine and roses when it comes to prophecy because I feel like maybe God gives you prophecies to warn you about something bad like a car coming through and hitting you or whatever. Right. So that could be for your edification.
But I'm going to counter that.
Okay.
Jesus talks about signs of the end times.
Mm-hmm.
And he talks about there will be war and rumors of war. I think he talks about earthquakes, right? Which is why that comes up so much.
Yes.
So that would be the other we're going to say that's category number 1 of types of prophecy, and then category 2 is what you just quoted, where it's basically the bringing up of the church.
Right. So that's scripture.
Or the edification of the church.
That's scripture. Those are things that you need to look out for. Now, depending on one's eschatology, which is end times beliefs. That's talking about stuff that will happen in the tribulation. I won't be here, so bye, Alex. I'll be in heaven with Jesus.
You said that was 1 Timothy?
That was in 1 Corinthians.
1 Corinthians,
talking about gifts of prophecy.
Yeah. So and that is, I think, because that's laid out in like very clear terms. I guess the question will be: is there anywhere else in the Bible, and maybe it's out there, and maybe it's in there, and we just couldn't find it when we searched for it, but outside of what I just quoted about Jesus saying there will be this, there will be that, is there anywhere else that would give a purpose for prophecy as something different as from what you just quoted?
Scriptural prophecy? Yes. Prophecy that's in the Bible?
Yes. Not like prophecy in the Bible as in like the Bible says this is going to happen, but like what you just quoted, like here is the use of prophecy, how to use prophecy.
Like New Testament gift of prophecy.
Right. Like what you just said, what you just read is basically, here's the purpose of prophecy.
Well, that brings up a very interesting conversation because people were telling Paul, don't go to Jerusalem.
Ooh.
The Holy Spirit's told him, don't go to Jerusalem.
Did he go to Jerusalem?
And he goes to Jerusalem.
And then what happened?
He gets arrested, he goes to Rome, and then...
But did he get work done in Jerusalem that had to be done?
That's a debate that people have. Mm-hmm. Was he...
Pastor, is this Acts?
Yes.
Okay, our sermon was literally on this.
Okay.
And it was talking about the various accounts of when he was in Jerusalem, which visit it was. Because there's a little bit of debate on which visit is which. Because he had to go up there to basically say, why are you preaching that to be a Christian you have to be circumcised? So it was the covenant of circumcision, and he had to basically go up there and put them in their place. And so it was a great Sunday because it was
Did you get circumcised?
Not that Sunday, no. He did make the joke. He's like, and I think is it Timothy or Barnabas was very relieved that he didn't have it. So I thought that was very interesting, and I wonder if people telling him not to go was for that visit where he went and set them straight. Because then if that case, people tell him not to go, but he had to go.
Right. So that's the debate, whether it was that visit or the visit where he actually ended up getting beheaded at some point. Like, did God still use it? Maybe he wasn't supposed to to go, but God still used him.
And does that serve as an example
you know,
of how to not ignore people who are telling you things? Or does that serve as an example of
or was
pick up your cross and if you die, you die?
Paul's like, yeah, I know. I'm going to go to Jerusalem and I'm going to.
Yeah. So if you want to contribute, if now we don't have our Bibles. We don't have our Bibles open in front of us right now. So for those of you who are like dying, saying, no, but it says here, like, enlighten us, put it down. Put it down in the comments. Blah, blah, blah. You know, I hate telling people to engage, but we do want people adding to the conversation, kindly.
Helpful comments.
Let's like talk as Christians.
Please.
I will delete the comments that are not that. That's just the reality of it. Add to the conversation so that you understand, because obviously you can only hear our voice. When people say, yeah, but this verse here says this, I go, ooh, that's awesome. Like I never, that's actually pretty cool. Like maybe this other view is supposed to be like that, or, you know, whatever. So yeah, add to the conversation. We would love to dissect more of these verses in depth, and yeah, just engage in healthy Christian conversation.
Yeah.
That's the goal. So yeah, was there anything else in your boomer printed out piece of paper there?
Because printing out paper
makes you a boomer automatically.
Makes me a boomer, but it's easier than bringing a laptop.
Let me remind I mean, you could just put it on your phone.
No, I can't see that. It's too small.
Yeah, boomer. This is the person who printed out our movie tickets on a piece of paper.
Okay, here's the thing. My phone needs to be replaced. It doesn't recognize my face like half the time I try to open things.
Boomers.
And so it's just easier to hold up a piece of paper for them to scan instead of me fumbling with my phone, trying to get it open, then open the email app, which takes an hour.
I mean, all you have to do is open it in the line and go to the email.
Shut up, Alex.
Okay. So, yeah. Anything else? What else do we have written down there?
I just wanted to throw out there that in the Old Testament, we're talking about Old Testament prophets, which are different from New Testament prophets.
Correct.
According to the great Wayne Grudem that I always refer to, because he's written the textbook on systematic theology and only every seminarian has and will have till the end of time. If you go to Biola, if you go to Liberty, you will have Wayne Grudem's systematic theology somewhere collecting dust on your bookshelf.
It's collecting dust in my room at the moment.
The most important book next to the Bible. Okay.
No.
No. Wayne Grudem's a great resource because he gives a very good Protestant overview of a lot of Protestant beliefs, and he always brings up opposing views.
Yes,
and he has a bibliography of where to read more from the Catholic position, where to read more from the Protestant position, you know, blah blah blah.
Yeah,
blah,
so
blah.
he's really good at saying here are all the different views on this topic,
right?
And he doesn't just say, well, these people think this, and then leave it at that. He'll go into why they think that. And
why they're wrong. No.
You might, and then he'll go his position based on his own evidence. But I would not be surprised if somebody goes off of the evidence that he gives for the opposing view and says, actually, that makes more sense to me. So that I think is very balanced, and he just wants to say, like, what we're doing. Here's the conversation about it. Decide for yourself. Yeah, go on.
So when the prophet, it's the Old Testament, when the prophet speaks in the name of the Lord, and the thing does not happen or come true, that is the thing which the Lord has not spoken. The prophet has spoken it presumptuously, and you are not to be afraid of him. Deuteronomy 18:22.
That makes sense.
Now, the debate that people bring up is, well, that's an Old Testament prophet, where God was literally appearing to them and saying, "Thus saith the Lord, tell Jerusalem, stop whoring after idols."
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Is it different from the Holy Spirit living inside you and giving you impressions about things?
Yeah.
Wayne Grudem says yes.
Yeah.
And of course, Wayne Grudem is inspired Theopneustos. No, I'm just kidding.
I think I would tend to agree with that. I think it makes sense that because Jesus showed up, we have the Spirit, everything's different. Okay, I shouldn't say everything. That's too much, maybe a blanket statement, but things have changed.
Yes.
I think
Read Hebrews.
I think this is one of those things that has changed. All that to say.
So like we talked about last time in our first podcast, when you are given an impression from God and you're trying to relate it to people, yes, I think it would be smart to not say, "Thus saith the Lord."
Yeah.
But to say, "I think God is telling me this."
Yeah.
Right? Because even Jeremiah, I mean, because this is the Old Testament, maybe I'm just destroying my whole idea that Old Testament prophets are different than New Testament prophets. But even Jeremiah was told by God that a relative of his would come and buy a piece of, offer him the land that you're going to buy, and it's going to be a sign for Israel about something, right? So God told Jeremiah that. And then like a couple days go by, that relative comes, says, hey, buy this field. Jeremiah buys it. And then it says, then I knew it was the Lord.
Then I knew.
Then I knew it was the Lord. So even Jeremiah had to test things that he got to see if it was from God.
Yeah, and that's logical. That makes sense. So, this dude's made claims. Biggs, right?
Yes.
Biggs has made claims. Now we wait.
Yeah.
I only say that because we don't have, like you said, he just started this thing like a year ago.
Uh-huh.
And if someone has like watched a video and they're like, "Oh yeah, no, this dude's a quack," there's all these other things.
I'm holding out for the Ripple thing.
This is not financial advice. Yeah, I think we wait, and what will most likely happen is the things he said are either generic enough that, okay, yeah, there was an earthquake, or yeah, the economy dipped 10 points, whatever it is, or maybe it crashes. I don't know. They're generic enough that they could be very well coincidence, or he's just wrong. I don't think that the Ripple thing is interesting. I didn't know what. Okay, that's a very specific thing.
Yeah, it is.
Shoot, that makes me want to buy some Ripple. Like, for real. What's the worst? I'm out $20.
You're right.
Oh no, I can turn $20 into like $1 million. Maybe I'll put $100 in there. The worst is I'm out $100. But this is not financial advice. Yeah. So, but you know what? As funny as it is to joke about something like Ripple, you know what? That's a perfect test.
Mm-hmm.
If it takes 10 years, 15 years for that to happen, I'm going to say, well, you picked a crypto, and sometimes crypto does that. Because crypto is incredibly volatile. People became billionaires overnight. Like actual billionaires. Because they happen to just put all their money in Doge or Shiba or whatever it is.
Yeah.
Or the people who got Bitcoin, right? Because I've tracked crypto a little bit, and that's what happens. Some of them, crypto is for the most part, like on the slump, like it's been in decline, although recently it's been up, but in general it's on the decline.
It's highly manipulated too,
right? But you'll still see like, oh wow, this one coin jumped like 1,000%, and you go, dang it, I wish I had bought that, right? And so I think you throw the dart at enough crypto coins, one of them is gonna shoot up. You might as well buy a little bit of all of it. This is not financial advice, and I think that's what he's doing. He's just like, well, I'll just pick this crypto. We'll wait to see what happens there.
Well, even making that prediction, I don't know when he made that prediction, if he made it right after the Trump thing came to pass, right? And if you make that prediction, everyone starts buying Ripple. And guess what happens?
Oh, yeah.
The price goes up.
So for context, I don't know if we said this or not, but the quote air quote prophecy that he made about Trump and the eardrum and the bullet, that was 3 months ago.
It was 4 months ago.
4 months ago. So to his credit, it's relatively within time frame.
Yeah.
So now we wait another 6 months to 6 to 12 months, and we go from there. On the flip side, the shares of firearm stocks, firearm manufacturers went up after the thing. Well, I don't really care. I'm just stating facts that happen. Okay. A news headline told me that shares or stocks in firearm manufacturing companies went up after someone tried to shoot Trump.
Really?
Now you cannot demonetize me, demonetize me because I'm stating a fact.
Yeah. You know, we got to do the Ben Shapiro thing where he mutes every keyword that YouTube flags.
Is that what he does?
Yeah.
I haven't watched Shapiro in so long.
So I'm going to say the word so we make sure no one ever sees this podcast. No, just kidding. But they'll mute.
In the shorts? Are you talking about in the shorts?
No, and in the full length.
Really?
I watch his full length thing sometimes, and yeah, it's like you're like, what happened to the sound? They muted the word.
Interesting.
And that's how he gets around the censorship and getting demonetized or getting throttled.
The algorithm.
Yeah,
that's okay. Nobody's gonna watch this anyways. So with that, our encouragement then I guess goes back to, what did you say, 1 Corinthians?
Our encouragement goes back to 1 Thessalonians 5:19 through 22. Do not quench the spirit. Do not utterly reject prophecies, but examine everything. Hold firmly to that which is good. Abstain from every form of evil.
Yep.
So be discerning. See the track record of these people. Test everything in light of Scripture and wait and see. Sometimes these guys throw jello at the wall and it sticks, you know? And I don't know much about this guy, so I want to give him the benefit of the doubt, but having a track record of other folks, especially within that sphere of the Kenneth Copelands of the world, this is not unusual type of sensational prophecies.
Right.
And yeah, I mean, every once in a while, somebody hits the jackpot and they go viral for a while. And so
I guess to end it all then, we were not planning on kind of pivoting to literally what everybody is talking about now. This is probably the echo chamber in this case, but we figure we throw our hat in the ring and doing our best to give some sound Christian advice. And then next week or next episode, we do hope to go back to our normal format, which I do think something that I was thinking was I would really like to go over some of the basic objections to that non-believers will bring up. Mm-hmm. And I'm talking like so the believers that listen will understand this as the stereotype questions that non-believers ask. Why does evil things happen? You know,
to good people,
you know, and I say that in kind of a sarcastic voice, but that's because I've grown up hearing that question. To anyone that has that as a genuine question, I do want to start answering questions like that because I don't think it's as easy to find that information as we would like it to be.
Just Google William Lane Craig answering these questions.
Who is that? I've never heard of the guy.
William Lane Craig's a philosopher and a Christian apologist.
But yeah, so I do think there's room to chat more about that. In our last episode, we talked about maybe discuss something a little more divisive, such as women in ministry. Hopefully we can get to that, and we go from there.
Okay.
Cool.
Sounds good, man.
Thanks, John.
Thanks, Alex.
Have such a fun time driving home.
I will.
Sweet.
I'll try not to die going on the on-ramp.
Watch out for those homeless people.
So, Alex.
Yes.
I think I got a prophecy.
All right, let's hear it.
So, here's what's going to happen. Around October, November, the leaves are going to start turning brown. And
this is mean. We should make fun of these people.
There's going to be some political event that happens. I don't know. I'm seeing maybe an election and
a turnover of power, perhaps.
Yeah. And I don't know. I think it's going to be Trump, dude.
I think it might
be.
Dude, it's going to be
50-50
really sad
chance,
if
so it's
not
going to be
Trump.
Trump.
Oh, no.
And just like every single charismatic in 2020 predicted it was Trump, and it wasn't.
Super oops.
Also, there's going to be like a guy in a red suit and a white beard on a sleigh.
I was like, what are you talking
12
about?
reindeer bringing gifts to kids at Macy's. And I see that December 24th,
you know,
Christmas Eve.
I think the Lord gave me something similar, but mine was more like people might see it as like a pagan idol. Those who may have not gone to public school. We'll see what happens. We'll see if this so-called turnover of power and jolly time of year occurs, and that's how we'll know if you're a prophet.
Amen.